Hey guys, welcome back. In today's video, we're going to be talking about December hunting strategies. And now that we're in the tail end of the hunting season, I really like to shift my focus to hunting mid to late mornings and evenings. So I'm not doing any more all-day sits, and I'm also not getting up super early to be in my stand an hour before daylight. And determining when I'm hunting really comes down to the strategy behind the particular hunt that I'm going on. And throughout the month of December, I'm really focused on two different strategies. And the first one is hunting the second rut. And believe it or not, there are some people out there that say there's no such thing as the second rut, which I find very strange because there's a lot of information out there that shows there's still breeding taking place in the deer woods. There's a lot of research that shows, and I'm sure most of you know this, that the rut takes place at the same time in the same location every single year. And most of the does are going to be bred during this time. However, there are some does that will not be bred, and those does will come into a second estrus cycle about 28 days after their first one. And along with the does that are coming into their second estrus cycle, those doe fawns that have reached a certain weight are going to be coming into their first estrus cycle. So there's absolutely still breeding going on in December. And who knows, maybe the people that are saying the second rut doesn't exist are simply just saying that the second rut is a continuation of the primary rut, and that's fine. Maybe we're all just saying the same thing, we're just saying it in a different way. As long as everyone knows that there's still breeding taking place in December, that's the most important point I wanted to drive home. And because there's still breeding taking place, my strategy behind hunting the second rut is very close to the way I hunt the primary rut. I like to get tight to the downwind edge of known bedding locations, and I like to hunt near pinch points that funnel deer movement in and out of those bedding areas. Those bucks are going to be working those same trails on the downwind side of thick cover looking for that last hot doe. Another thing that you need to keep in mind is that you need to be hunting a bedding location that the does are still currently using. If you know that you spooked those does out earlier in the season, the buck is also going to know that they're not there and they're not going to be spending time in that location. I guess what I'm trying to say is don't hunt where the does were, hunt where the does are now, and that's where you're going to find those bucks searching. And from what we personally found from running trail cameras on our property over the past 10 years, is that the window that the bucks are up moving around during daylight searching for does is a narrow one. And I'm talking like 3 to 4 days narrow. I think if I remember correctly, it's around December 3rd to December 7th. And that's when we get most of our daylight pictures of bucks walking around searching for does on our property. And another trend that we've noticed, both from personal observation and from trail camera data, is that these bucks are up moving around during the mid to late morning hours, within that 9 in the morning to 11 in the morning time frame. So knowing this, you don't really have to be in your stand super early in the morning to hunt the second rut. I would just try to make sure that you're in your stand by 8 in the morning. But if you can, definitely try to take advantage of the December breeding that's taking place in the deer woods. The second strategy that I really try to focus on in December is trying to take advantage of a buck's needs at this time of the season, and that's food. I really like to hunt food that's tight to cover, or I like to hunt the trails that are leading in and out of food sources. And I'm really only hunting these locations in the afternoon. After spending over a month running around chasing does, these bucks are going to be exhausted. They lose a ton of weight from all the chasing and fighting that takes place during the rut. Some of the bucks even die. With most of the breeding having already taken place, these bucks know that winter is coming. And if they don't start hitting the carbs right now, they're going to be in some serious trouble when all that harsh weather that we get up here starts showing up. And why you want to be focusing your afternoon hunts on these food sources that are tight to cover is simply because these deer have been hunted by everyone in the neighborhood for the past 2 months. Some of them have probably even been shot. So they're probably not going to be out in these food sources throughout the day. And it's also highly unlikely that these deer are going to leave the safety of cover, travel a long distance during daylight to get to these food sources. If there's not really a food source that's close to cover in your area and traveling a long distance is their only option, what you're most likely going to notice is that these deer are going to lay low during daylight and move after dark. This is another huge reason why you should be leaving your food plots unpressured throughout the entire season. The local deer, bucks included, are going to gravitate towards areas that they feel are safe. And if this is a food source on your property, then you have a huge opportunity with hunting the month of December. Deer are not going to move very far during daylight in the late season, so you need to do everything that you can to keep your property as unpressured as possible throughout the entire season. So that's the area that they do feel comfortable moving in. And to wrap this one up, I'll give you guys an example of how we're going to hunt this property during the late season. We have a food plot on this property that's just over a half acre that we have yet to hunt this season. It's a beautiful clover plot, and where the clover didn't grow, I also threw down a brassica mix. So in this particular plot, we have a lot of diversity, and because we haven't hunted it all season, the deer are using it every single day. And we know this because we have a cell camera monitoring a scrape on the side of the food plot. And to give you guys a better picture on kind of how this property is set up, we also created a very thick bedding area on the west side of the food plot. And this bedding area has also not been hunted at all this season. And some of you guys might be thinking, man, those are some missed opportunities there. You haven't hunted that food plot all season. You haven't hunted that bedding area all season. Maybe if you had pushed in earlier, you could have capitalized. And you know what? That is absolutely true. However, having a very small parcel in high pressure Michigan, I cannot risk pushing into my sanctuaries and spooking the deer out to my neighbors. I'd prefer to have it work the other way around and have them spook their deer to me. So because we have an unpressured bedding location on the west side of the food plot, any type of a west wind that's blowing from the bedding area over top of the food plot to the east side of my property, we can hunt this food plot pretty non-invasively by walking down the east property line and then cutting in to a ground blind that we have on the northeast side of the food plot. So really with any sort of a west wind, we should be able to access along the east side of the property, getting in and out of that stand without the deer ever knowing that we were there. So guys, that's our approach to hunting the month of December and our late season strategies. If you guys have any other tips that you'd like to share, or if you have any questions, please drop those in the comment section below. I'll get back to those as soon as I can, and we will see you guys in the next video.